Denver psilocybin mushrooms treats alcoholism, addiction, and depression. I'm going to tell you what all that means, especially for you and I, the melancholy addicts and alcoholics of the world, coming up right here in this video. Before we jump in, if you're new here, my name is James. I'm a grateful recovering addict and alcoholic. I drank and used drugs recklessly for 20 years, and I've been recovering for 3.5. I post a video every week right here in this channel on alcoholism, recovery, sobriety, addiction, everything in between. Feel free to subscribe and share to get this message out there. First of all, what is a psilocybin mushroom? I'll tell you what I think it is. I'll tell you what I know it is, and then I'll let Roland Griffiths, a psychopharmacist, explain it. Here it is in my words. A psilocybin mushroom. Here's what I know. It grows in the cow patties of North America. I'm sure it grows elsewhere as well. There's different types of them in different climates. Psilocybin mushrooms. You eat them and you trip. It is a very profound psychoactive substance that activates parts of your mind, including visual hallucinations, and people have been using it for hundreds and thousands of years for spiritual, mystical journeys. And most recently, and probably since the dawn of their discovery, for recreational purposes. Shrooms, well, it's shrooms. I'm sure you've heard about them. Some people are scared of them. There is some parts to be scared of. We'll circle back to my experience with them, but for now, let's hear what Roland Griffiths has to say.
Psilocybin is the principal psychoactive component of the Psilocybe genus of mushroom. Psilocybin in the form of these mushrooms have been used for hundreds, possibly thousands of years within various cultures for healing and spiritual purposes.
Well, at least he knows how to pronounce it. He is one of the many modern pro-activists that are well aware of the medicinal benefits of psychoactive substances like psilocybin and cannabis for that matter, and THC and all that. These are psychedelic drugs. What does psychedelic mean? Well, the root word is psych, and psychoactive, psych is psychology, it's in the mind, and mental disorders of the world are being treated with and experimentally of course, with these psychoactive substances. He is of the group that supports the belief that these substances can be used to create spiritually meaningful, mystical journeys that help open up the patient's mind. And this, let's face it, shrooms, there's a stigma. Denver just decriminalized, not legalized. Decriminalized and legalized, what's the difference? The difference is it's still illegal. It's still federally illegal. It's in fact a Schedule I drug with LSD, marijuana, heroin, MDMA. These are Schedule I drugs by the federal government. However, decriminalized is what happened to what Denver decided to do in 2005 to cannabis. And we all know where that has gone. In, I believe, 2012, they fully legalized it. And on Tuesday, May 7th of 2019, voters decriminalized mushrooms. This doesn't mean they're legal. This means that it's a low priority on police radar. And Dunkin' Donuts is still priority number one. You know, I've researched and mushrooms were not on priority number one. They're not exactly public enemy number one. Now, you and I are a lot alike, or else we wouldn't both be spending this much time here on Then Came James. So when you hear the word voters, when in context of psychedelic shrooms, you may be envisioning the same thing I am. And let me just tell you, you are absolutely right.
Hey, would you like a cool piece of art to put on your fridge? Sure. Awesome. You gonna vote to decriminalize mushrooms? I don't live a very structured or linear life in that sort of way. It should not be a felony to consume these earth medicines. It is a gift from the divine, and it should be freely consumed with little repercussions.
Oh, he is so cute. I bet you his I voted posts on Instagram are just blowing up right now. I do feel like I should note where, sure, you can invite this man to your cookout and not worry about him hitting on your girlfriend or kicking your dog. I think we're all a little bit tired of this dude's face representing the highly beneficial, potentially valid potential medicines like pot, cannabis. These mushrooms are very new to the scene, but what I'm about to show you is it's very real. These things are very real candidates to treat things that have confused us since the dawn of man's brain: mental disorders, depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, alcoholism. There are studies, and we are just now breaking the surface. So this guy representing all of that, we're all too familiar with him and people wearing t-shirts like this. However, and you can buy this t-shirt down in the description, by the way. What I've found upon investigating this whole thing is that I propose that we be grown adult addicts and alcoholics and recognize the new face of these natural medicines with great potential. This guy, David Irudzo, he's representing the Open Foundation. Open is they study the effects of psilocybin and the personality in patients with disorders of the mental sort, major depression, anxiety. I will link that video, all of these videos actually, I'll link down in the description below. Open, I'll also put the website. Open Foundation is an independent non-for-profit NGO. I'm not sure what that means, but based in the Netherlands. Open was founded in 2007 with the primary goal to stimulate academic research into therapeutic applications of psychedelics. I'll post that link down in the description. Meanwhile, let's hear from David Irudzo.
And people have been treated with at least 2 different classes of antidepressants without any effect on their depression in order to be qualified for inclusion in the study. We do some imaging, not during the effect of the drug. All that was done in Healthy, the work that have been done in our group previously. So we have also created this sort of lovely, supportive, aesthetically nice environment. We have music playing, as Mendel was talking about yesterday, and then we are 2 psychiatrists present during the sessions. This is one of them where you can see most of them actually fulfill criteria for severe depression when they enter the study up in this area, and they drop significantly at the 1 week, the main outcome of the depressive symptoms, and a lot of them are staying down for quite a while, and only a few of them are, after 6 months, up in the severe area again. So it's not a magic cure. It doesn't mean that everyone will be completely cured for the depression, but a lot dips and stay down for quite significant amount of time, and that is...
I know what you're thinking, and where he is boring and his jargon is technical and clinical, just look at that man's magnificent mane of hair.
Dips and stay down, dips and stay down.
Dips and stay down for quite significant amount of time. And
in all seriousness, this guy represents the Open Foundation, and like I said, the link's down there. But these are the kind of faces that we need to acknowledge and recognize, because, okay, we've all had some trips, we've had our experiences. Because where it is recreationally fun, and there are people like Shroomertons over here, it is becoming increasingly more obvious and apparent that these things have medical value, and where addicts like us, we're all in charge of our own recovery. I personally know that where I would drink and use things like Xanax and depressants and things of that nature until I was passed out or damn near dead, when I used hallucinogenics, such as mushrooms, way back in the day, I was so exhausted by it's not exactly all the time an enjoyable experience. I mean, you have deep, insightful journeys within your own mind, and sure, you see stuff and you laugh, and but there's also, you face some things about. Now here's my opinion. When I was under the influence of psychoactive hallucinogens such as psilocybin, mushrooms, shrooms, look, it's fun, you laugh, there was scary, intense times. It is my personal belief, and this is very important on the topic of treating alcoholism and addiction. There have been times when I have tripped, taken these substances, and been faced with certain truths about myself, about my life, insights and spiritual questions. I questioned certain parts about my life and certain parts about cultural norms, and I discovered very ugly, very truthful parts of myself. Now, in the 12 steps of AA, there is a step where you take your inventory honestly, you rigorously and honestly take your personal inventory. This is the good and the bad about yourself without being biased or egotistical. You lay it out and then you tell it to God and another human being, and that's part of the steps. Now, I just found out that one of the founders of Alcoholics Anonymous actually went in and did LSD therapy and discovered that there were parts of his trip and his journey where he faced a certain ego identifier, a certain ego dynamic. You explore parts of yourself and parts of your ego. You become humble, smaller. You start to recognize various things. This is very complex. I'm sure I'm not doing it any justice by stumbling around with my words. But the gist of it is mushrooms, LSD, ayahuasca. These things can take you within yourself and they add perspective. Now, I read something about this as far as how they do that, and a diagram of the brain on these substances next to a diagram of the brain not. The one on these substances, psychoactive substances, is lit up. Every part of the brain is communicating with each other, and they call this crosstalk between the brain. This is the visual talks to the audio, the emotional talks to the logical, and all of the rest that I am unfamiliar with. But the whole brain is interacting, and this I'm paraphrasing here, but this added a certain perspective that the individual, the depressed individual, the addicted individual, and the suicidal individual, it added a perspective. And there are studies and videos you can check out and articles out there of these real studies and their stories. And there are touching stories of people that could not put down cigarettes. They didn't smoke. There's a psilocybin study where 80% of the people on the psilocybin trip quit the cigarettes, and those with the placebo, administered a placebo, did not. I guess what I'm trying to say is, in my experience, I have experienced that. And back when I was taking mushrooms, and maybe you guys can relate, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, I pawned these feelings off, these uncomfortable, bad feelings, as paranoia or a bad trip, but a lot of that stuff was coming face to face with stuff I didn't like about myself, stuff I needed to do with my life. And this is what I'm running into upon reading about the research involving psilocybin mushrooms, is that there's these spiritual awakenings, there's these there's these epiphanies that these patients go through. And it is a real lasting effect. There's a real possibility that these natural medicines can help with disorders that modern medicine has been baffled to treat. Of course, Big Pharma has antidepressants and anti-anxiety, but one of which I had a seizure because I was so addicted to, I couldn't stop taking it. That, of course, is benzodiazepines. Anti-anxiety works so well that I just ate it like candy, and people get addicted to it and form dependence on it. And Big Pharma doesn't want you to grow mushrooms in your backyard and eat them and discover that you don't need Big Pharma. So I'm sure you're saying, well, James, that's all well and good. Of course you're for mushrooms. You are a, former dirty hippie, but I'm an adult. I'm an adult now. I've been sober for almost 4 years. I have turned my life around. I have recovered. I am healthy mentally and physically now. And I'm still in work in progress, but what I can tell you is, when I was taking substances for fun, I was doing it to escape those feelings that I was talking about earlier, that we take an inventory and admit to ourselves and another human being. I was scared that I was going to let them loose on the world, and this is my analysis. So I drank and used because I was uncomfortable in my own skin. And I pretty much did anything and everything. Some of it was not as enjoyable as others. One of those, some of the times, most of the time, maybe I would say 50-50. Some of it was really good, some of it was really bad. Some of it was extremely vulnerable, and it got me scared to take it. Once you eat those mushrooms, once you drop that acid, there's no turning back. You're going on a trip, and you're gonna face some stuff that you may not like, and you may be scared. So in the new research, they're treating these patients that will get scared, and you'll be scared of your addiction, you're scared of your disability, your depression, and they're treating them in clinical environments, and all of that's online. I linked up some links down in the description. This is, in my opinion, this is good for the addicts of the world, and also those that are suffering with mental illnesses such as depression, anxiety, and things unsure of the world. These mushrooms kind of just give you the truth. That's my take on it, and I'd love to hear about your comments. Have you taken mushrooms? Are you in Colorado? Did you vote yes? Did you vote no? If you're in America, are you for this movement? Do you want it in your town? Do you not want it in your town? Do you agree that it's not just some way to get high and have fun? I really don't think it is. I think there's a whole other scene. Growing up taking these things for fun, there's a whole nother beneficial thing to this, cannabis and these mushrooms, and I'm sure they're going to discover other holistic ways to treat some stuff. So down in the comments, scroll all the way down if you're on your phone down there, and leave me a comment about these mushrooms. What do you think? What are you going through? Are you on shrooms right now? Send me a video. No, I'm just kidding. Like, comment, subscribe, and share to get this message out there. Until next week, just keep it real, keep it clean, and keep doing it. The damn thing, that is. That is that. Shrooms. First of all, have you ever done shrooms?
I did shrooms one time. That's a story time for later on, you guys.
That's another story time. I got a couple story times.
Yeah, I did one when I was real little. I tripped out at school because I didn't know
School?
Elementary school at that.
Damn, I did it.
So every time I see a mushroom, I'd be like,
This is an age-old thing too. Research and development on using psychedelics to open a depressed person's mind. These disorders are debilitating. You've experienced depression. I'm clinically diagnosed depression. I'm sure you are too.
Out of 300 million Americans, 40 million of us have depression.
Why do I jump into this like reading voice? I'm like, 2 studies confirm the hypothesis. All right, let me just read it normal.
I grew up in a Baptist household, and everything was the devil. Everything was the devil. So that is from Satan.
Yo, yeah.